Hello, and welcome to Horrific Tales. In this show we celebrate the creation of independent authors and aspiring writers. Please like and subscribe and share these episodes so we can help our talented friends get as much exposure as possible. We would also appreciate if you could support our artists by following them on their individual platforms and by purchasing their works. Details on how to do this are in the episode description. In this horrific tale, an outcast tries to come to terms with his role as a laboratory assistant carrying out questionable acts. Join us now as we present Loyal Gorzo by Anthony M Caro.
Gorzo always wonders why Dr. Milov does the work he does. Gorzo can't understand things. Not because Gorzo can't hear. Gorzo can't understand because Dr. Milov does things that never make sense. Since Gorzo can't speak, he can never ask Dr. Milov why he does strange things in the lab. Does things to people. If Gorzo could speak, he still wouldn't ask Dr. Milov anything. Dr. Milov would ignore Gorzo. Gorzo works for Dr. Milov. Dr. Milov is not Gorzo's friend. So, why does Gorzo stay with Dr. Milov? Dr. Milov feeds and clothes Gorzo, gives Gorzo a place to live. Gorzo never defies Dr. Milov. Gorzo never hesitates. Loyal Gorzo obeys. Always. Gorzo has been deaf and mute his whole life. But Gorzo can see and observe many things. Clearly, Gorzo observed Dr. Milov for years. Gorzo knows he's a cruel man. Others beside Gorzo think Dr. Milov is a cruel man. The people he picks for experiments think Dr. Milov is cruel. No, he's cruel. Dr. Milov performs surgery without anything to hide the pain. Sometimes he puts a helmet on people's heads. The helmet has wires. Long wires that go to Dr. Milov's machine. When Dr. Milov pulls the big switch on the machine down, the helmet fills with special electrons and atoms, Dr. Milov says. Gorzo can't understand how Dr. Milov makes special electrons and atoms designed to make people powerful and strong. Dr. Milov would never tell Gorzo how. Gorzo wouldn't understand anyway. Gorzo always understands what President Eisenhower says when he talks about the war. Before him, Gorzo understood President Truman. Not that Gorzo met them. Gorzo watches presidents on the fuzzy black and white television. Late at night, Gorzo reads their lips through the snowy screen. Gorzo taught himself how to read lips. Gorzo could never teach himself how to make special electrons and atoms. Gorzo does not need to read lips to know what a scream is. People, men and women, young and old, scream when the doctor's knife cuts them. Gorzo can't say what it sounds like when electrons and atoms travel through their brain from the helmet on top of their heads. Gorzo knows that special electrons and atoms can also make people scream. Dr. Milov doesn't call the helmet a helmet. Gorzo does not know what Dr. Milov calls it, because it is hard to understand the words when Gorzo reads Dr. Milov's lips. Nothing he says makes sense to Gorzo. One thing makes sense to Gorzo: the cruelty. Cruelty, Gorzo knows. Gorzo learned nothing at the orphanage, unless you think Gorzo learning about cruelty is learning. Gorzo learned cruelty in the orphanage. Gorzo was not born in the orphanage. No orphan is born in an orphanage. They say Gorzo was born in an alley. No baby is born in an alley. Babies are found in an alley, like Gorzo. Not all babies and orphans are deaf, but Gorzo was. They say fever took Gorzo's hearing. Does it matter why Gorzo cannot hear or speak? It mattered to the orphans who beat Gorzo, stole his food, and did things to him at night when the staff slept, when not supposed to sleep. Gorzo knew even if he could scream, the staff would never come. No one comes when people scream at Dr. Milov's lab. People scream when the special electrons and atoms run from the machine to the helmet and through their brains to make them strong, powerful. Supposed to make them strong and powerful. Never works. Dr. Milov may be cruel because he's frustrated. Gorzo makes excuses. Gorzo wonders. Did the orphans hurt Gorzo because he was deaf, or because Gorzo was small? A big, deaf and mute child they will not hurt, not if the child could hurt them back. Gorzo left the beatings and the night visits when he ran away from the orphanage. Starving, no food, meant young Gorzo would stay small. When Gorzo found the village, Gorzo found a new alley, and Gorzo had enough food thrown in the alley to live. One day Gorzo found an old comic book in the trash. Gorzo could not read, but he followed the pictures. Gorzo liked the story and the pictures. One picture with words had a man who went from skinny to muscles. Real man, not a cartoon man in the funny pictures. The pictures only showed a few exercises, enough for Gorzo. Gorzo did them. Every day. Much time to pass during the day. Gorzo kept eating what people threw away. People threw a lot away. Gorzo grew older, grew bigger. So big had Gorzo become that the circus came looking for him when they heard about Gorzo. Gorzo ate better in the circus. Gorzo learned to lift weights and become a strong and big man. Gorzo liked the circus until it came to Dr. Milov's time, and Dr. Milov came to the circus. Dr. Milov bought Gorzo from the circus. Gorzo cannot say Dr. Milov never fed him. He wanted Gorzo big. Dr. Milov wanted Gorzo so big he gave him good food, pills and needles to make him bigger. Gorzo got bigger. Gorzo looked scary. Scarier. Dr. Milov is not scared of Gorzo. Sometimes Dr. Milov hits Gorzo with slaps and whips. Gorzo could snap Dr. Milov's neck. Then Gorzo would be alone. Dr. Milov only hits Gorzo when Gorzo does wrong. Gorzo does much wrong, Dr. Milov says. Dr. Milov must whip Gorzo. Gorzo's flesh is not hurt by the whip. Gorzo feels pain. Not much pain. Not much. Gorzo is strong. Gorzo does not hit back. What would happen if Dr. Milov tells Gorzo to leave? Gorzo does not want to find out, so he does not hit back. Gorzo knows he must have done something wrong. Why would Dr. Milov hit him if he did nothing wrong? Dr. Milov hurt the lady. Did the lady do something wrong? No. Dr. Milov has a lady tied to the table. Laboratory table. Blonde lady. Gorzo never cared before, and Dr. Milov tied others to the lab table Gorzo took from the hospital. Gorzo's always taking, carrying and lifting things for Dr. Milov. Gorzo cared nothing about the others Dr. Milov tied to the lab table. Most were men, middle-aged men. Why didn't Gorzo care about them? He knew if he met them in the orphanage or the circus they wouldn't care about Gorzo. Gorzo does not care about them. Gorzo knows he's not being fair to the men Dr. Milov tricked. Gorzo tries not to care when they scream. They scream when Dr. Milov turns on his machine, and the special electrons and atoms go to the helmet in their head. They scream worse when Dr. Milov cuts with his tools. Sharp, doctor tools. Gorzo almost feels sorry for them. Gorzo sometimes feels sorry for his friend who lives in the basement beneath the trapdoor. Gorzo calls him a friend, but he, or she, doesn't know Gorzo. The friend is more like a pet, because it is an animal. Although, not an animal. It is a lot like an animal. Many animals. Claws it has, octopus arms, it has eyes. Many eyes. And teeth. It has teeth. Many teeth. Where did it come from? Did Dr. Milov find it? Make it? Buy it? Gorzo doesn't know. Gorzo doesn't question. Gorzo just drops things down the trapdoor when Dr. Milov asks. When Dr. Milov commands. Gorzo feels bad people die to feed his friend under the trapdoor. But Gorzo would lie if he didn't say he likes to open the trapdoor and see something other than Dr. Milov and the people Dr. Milov makes scream. Gorzo calls what lives below the trapdoor his friend. Gorzo only does that because he wants to think it is true. What lives in the basement filled with water, the pet, Dr. Milov's pet, does not think. It eats. It eats whatever Dr. Milov throws down the trapdoor. Gorzo throws down the trapdoor. Dr. Milov never throws anything. Gorzo throws arms and legs from people Dr. Milov cuts with his tools down the trapdoor to Gorzo's friend. Entire bodies go down the trapdoor. Bodies Dr. Milov can no longer use for experiments. Dr. Milov has to get rid of his experiments. Get rid of the people who screamed instead of becoming strong. Gorzo wonders if anyone misses them. Gorzo likes to think people miss him. Like he wants to think Gorzo's friend is his friend. No one misses Gorzo. Gorzo's friend is no friend. Gorzo wants to think people miss him and his friend is his friend. Gorzo cares about his friend. Gorzo never cared about the men and women Dr. Milov killed because they looked like those who never cared about Gorzo. Gorzo knows they are not the same people Gorzo knew. Gorzo felt bad when they screamed from their helmet that sent special electrodes and atoms into their heads, and Dr. Milov's knife cut through their skin. Gorzo would feel bad for them. Felt bad for them afterwards. Gorzo felt a little bad when Dr. Milov hurt women. Gorzo knows it is wrong to stand and watch when Dr. Milov treats women badly, when he feels no one should let anyone treat Gorzo badly. Gorzo stands, watches, and does what Dr. Milov wants. Gorzo does not interfere. Gorzo does not get attached. The blonde woman makes Gorzo feel different. Gorzo shouldn't care about the blonde woman than the black-haired, red-haired, and brown-haired woman. Gorzo shouldn't care more about her than the men and the children of Dr. Milov's experiments. Gorzo never cared about them. But Gorzo was mad that no one cared about him. Gorzo would laugh if we were funny. Gorzo does not laugh. Gorzo thinks. Gorzo thinks too much sometimes. The special electrons and atoms will travel from the helmet that make the blonde woman strong, Dr. Milov says. Sometimes Gorzo wonders if Dr. Milov truly believes the special electrons and atoms will make anyone strong, or if Dr. Milov only likes to be cruel. Cruel, Gorzo believes. Cruel like those from the orphanage. Gorzo believes some people like to be cruel. Gorzo no longer believes that Dr. Milov cares about making anyone strong. Gorzo does not think before grabbing Dr. Milov when Dr. Milov tried to put the switch down after putting the helmet on the blonde woman. Dr. Milov slapped Gorzo, but Gorzo ignored the slap. Dr. Milov reached for his whip, but Gorzo pulled him away from where it hung from the wall. Gorzo dragged Dr. Milov past the table, where the screaming blonde woman lay strapped down. Gorzo stared at the woman when Gorzo and Dr. Milov passed her. Gorzo knew the look in her eye. Gorzo felt how she felt when Gorzo lived in the orphanage. If Gorzo could speak, he would say nothing. Gorzo dragged Dr. Milov across the room, past the machine with the wire, beyond the lab door, and down the hall, to the trap door. Gorzo was strong enough to hold Dr. Milov under one arm and open the trap door with the other. Gorzo looked at Dr. Milov and saw the fear on his face, the nerve of Dr. Milov. Gorzo dropped Dr. Milov down the trap door to the watery basement below. Dr. Milov was never Gorzo's friend. Gorzo's pet was never his friend. Let Dr. Milov and Gorzo's pet be friends. Gorzo would soon free the blonde-haired woman from her table. Gorzo knew once she was free, she would run, and Gorzo could not stay here. Gorzo did not know where to go. Gorzo would be alone in the world again. For the first time in a long time, Gorzo felt happy.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our latest horrific tale. If you want to keep up to date with future episodes, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages. You can also give the channel support by visiting our merchandise store and picking up some of our items. We would also appreciate it if you took a moment to support our contributing artists, who very kindly lend their talents to the show. Check out the links in the description to see how you can do this. Well, that just leaves me to say, until next time my friends, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.